Welcome to episode 94 of the Nerd Rundown podcast. This week on the big show, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly all the way through. Some legal troubles for an MCU star, some mudslinging around the departure of Victoria Alonso, and we get some terrific news that Liv Tyler coming back. Finally, we wrap the show with a straight up baller question from Mr. Mike Hodgkinson around what studio would you take over? Ready, hit it!
Hey nerds, welcome back to the Nerd Rundown podcast, where we cover the latest in the nerd world of movies, TV, and more. I'm Darren Stemple, and with me here today is my co-pilot, Eric Hare.
Greetings, fellow nerds. Yeah. Try and do it with the
I can't do it. Can't.
Star Trek.
You can find us on all of our social media like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all at the Nerd Rundown. Over here on YouTube, if you're liking what you're seeing and hearing, then please hit the like button on the videos, the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, that really helps the show out. Leave a comment, a NRDbox question. We got a really good one later in the show that I'm excited to see what your answer is, Eric.
Yeah, that's actually hard.
Yeah,
it's a hard one. So
I feel like mine was right off the bat. I was like, yep, that's what I want. And I started kind of going through the options. I was like, nope, I'm going with my first gut. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah.
Lastly, though, of course, you can listen to us on all the major podcast services. Before we get to a small rundown, let's hear a word about our sponsor, Combat the Chaos. It's no secret here at the Nerd Rundown that we support our veterans and our first responders. We ask that you do the same thing through our sponsor, Combat the Chaos. They're a veteran-owned clothing company that donates part of their proceeds to other amazing organizations supporting these warriors and guardians. If you're a veteran, you're at a 57% higher risk of suicide than those who have not served. As a veteran myself, this cause hits very close to home. This shirt and hat are some of the items available if you follow our link in the description down below to combatthechaos.com. Use the discount code NRD for 15% off and help us fight this battle that veterans and first responders so desperately need. Now, back to the rundown. Okay, so I just mentioned we have a short rundown, and that's because we recorded halfway through the week last week, released a little late in the week as I had a major gaffe on our audio, and Eric had to come in and save the day and do his thing, put his cape on. So first of all, thank you, Eric, for saving the day and giving us a chance to release an episode last week.
You're good.
So the audio isn't the greatest in the previous week's rundown, but it's a weekly show. So if you didn't like it, we'll move on this week and promise we'll have things better off. I've tried to pick up some duties to take some weight off of Eric's shoulders, and it's a learning process. So hats off to Eric for doing everything that he's done for this show over the last almost 2 years. We're coming up on it.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah. No worries, dude.
So first of all, thank you. Second of all, sorry to the nerds out there. Third of all, it made me take some perspective on what's coming up on our 2 years and think how far we've come, how different things are, and some of the things that are coming up. And part of the reason why I'm taking up some of the duties is to learn how to do this, because we want to launch another show, and I think we've mentioned it a few times, but we're going to do a reaction show for trailers, TV series, and the like. It's tough though. This has been a really fun learning process, but a really frustrating learning process, and it's racking my brain. I gotta give another shout out to everybody who edits videos out there. That's some grade A tough work, man.
For sure. Yeah. It's we're very. I will say that I have had a college level course in editing and audio, working, so all those engineers who work those audio panels at like all the concerts and stuff like that and all the other things, or if you're doing a podcast and trying to learn audio boards, and then also for those who edit for a living, God bless you.
I know,
because it is
tedious.
it is tough. And I'm doing a show that doesn't really do too many edits. I don't really have to do, for those people who are trying to put together, you can see why it takes 2 or 3 months to edit a movie together or edit, a show together, because it's like, there's a lot of content and weaving all that stuff in, together and doing different transitions and different cuts and all kinds of stuff. It can be challenging for sure.
It for sure is challenging, and we just did our presents on Everything Everywhere All at Once, which also won for best editing, and that was a movie. That was one of the first movies that really like made me take a step back and realize how much editing can or how much a good editor can pay off.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they set they kind of set the tone for the movie, or at least the runtime, how it's going to feel.
Right, yeah.
And now it's starting to. I notice it in like everything I watch. It's pretty crazy how your perspective changes when you start doing things.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. We got a pretty small rundown, but it's packed with some juice. So
juice, yeah.
First up on the rundown is a tier called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And we're going to start with the ugly. Because it was reported this past weekend that Jonathan Majors, who has graced our screens a few times in the past several years, most notably as Kang the Conqueror in the MCU right now, but also he was in Creed 3. He was in Lovecraft Country. Got arrested over the weekend for domestic abuse. Now, there is a lot of people on both sides of, you would say, the political aisle that are saying, innocent until proven guilty. The other one is the other side of that. It's hard to really take a stance here because you're wrong either way, honestly. What do you think?
It's all well, yeah. So we have to say that at this point, these charges are, allegedly he did these things, so we need to let the criminal justice system the wheels of the criminal justice system, they grind slowly, but they do grind. And so one way or the other, my hope is just that the truth comes out of this, and justice is served for whomever is, in the wrong here. So right now, he stands to be accused of some abuse, and so I think there was some strangulation, I think is what they'd said, and some other stuff and everything. But it sounds to me, from what I had read in one of the stories we were kind of following, that there was some video footage from a vehicle where this supposed incident took place. So there may be video that could either corroborate or exonerate him, one way or the other. For everyone's sake, I hope that, for both Jonathan's sake, if he's innocent of these charges, that it clearly shows that he is an innocent man, and that he, none of this deserves to happen to him. And or if it's in the victim, if this stuff did truly occur to her, that she gets the justice that she deserves as well. So it's a delicate matter. It really is. Like you said, it's kind of tough. It's kind of a tough situation. I don't want to see an innocent man be prosecuted, but at the same time, I don't want a woman to be abused, or anybody to be abused, or or be impacted by that. So I think at this point, I'm just kind of patiently waiting to see how this plays out, and I'm not coming down one way or the other on either side.
Don't be reactionary. in this.
Right. Yeah. I have enjoyed Jonathan Majors' work up to this point in the stuff that I have seen him in.
Right.
That being said, being a famous movie actor does not give you carte blanche to do, bad things. And same thing goes for, if a person, just because you're with a famous movie star doesn't mean you can try and pin stuff on them to try and, get some money or whatever, or get some notoriety or fame out of them. So it's a delicate situation for sure.
So there's a little bit of a theme throughout this whole show. Like, put yourself in shoes of Kevin Feige.
Yeah, right.
Those are some difficult shoes to be in right now. So I think he's doing the right thing. He hasn't made any comments. He's letting the facts play out. But man, if it's true,
it's gonna be
that
bad.
Messes up a lot.
Yeah, I mean they'll have to
recast him.
They'll have to recast, and
because they can't change the multiverse storyline now.
No, they cannot. But the nice thing about the multiverse is, like, well, it's the multiverse. So Kang comes in whatever form we want Kang to come from. So if there's any character that you could recast on that, you could be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah, right now. They're like, this is a good time to get any of the recasting done, actually.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I think Feige is playing it. He's playing it the way you probably need to play it. Because it'll probably be pretty clear pretty fast. Like the DAs in New York will want to make sure that they get this right, right from the get-go. So they're most likely going to, if this is not what we think it is, and they'll dismiss this case pretty doggone quick. But if they move forward with prosecution on this, then my expectation is that they've got some pretty concrete evidence one way or the other. So, but there, there is allegations out there when this dropped that
there does seem to be some other people coming forward.
There's some smoke. Where there's smoke, there might be fire. And so there are some folks that have come forward, even prior to this incident, who had mentioned, without naming any names, about a person who had a little bit of a temper and started to develop a bad reputation around there, and now this is kind of being tied to Jonathan. But again, these are all unsubstantiated rumors, and again, I am trying to remain as neutral as I possibly can.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't want to judge. That's not for me to decide,
Yeah, I don't have all the evidence. And,
so, it's an ugly situation for sure, no matter what. So it is a situation, we don't get too political on this show, but it is, this is a situation that we cannot ignore here on the rundown. Right. So, moving from the ugly to the bad is kind of a follow-up on last week's story about Victoria Alonso being let go from Marvel Studios. Of course, now we're a week removed from that. More details are coming out about why she was let go. Sounds like she had a breach in contract. She was producing a documentary for another studio, and then was also promoting it. Two things she wasn't supposed to do per her contract. So, Eric, does it seem like this is more justified now that some of this has come out? What do you think?
I'm still suspicious about that, because her and her attorney are maintaining that, or at least her attorney is maintaining that she was given permission to produce this particular documentary, Argentina 1985. But I think the condition in her contract was that she was not allowed to promote it, and so she was given permission to work on the project, but she was not given permission to promote it. And my understanding is, at least with some of the things that are kind of coming out, again, unsubstantiated, these are all just kind of rumor stuff, is that she was taking time off to go work on this other project and to promote it, and the studio was not happy about that. And so I think that potentially, she may have been shown the door, as because she was starting to. I think another thing that I had heard was that her outside political aspirations or wishes, she was bringing those into the studio and maybe making them more than what they needed to, and when you're making blockbusters and everything's making $1 billion, you can get away with that stuff. But I think as we've seen with this last phase, these pictures didn't do quite as well. And when that starts to happen, if you're drawing focus away or attention away from the task at hand, it can quickly find yourself on the outside, because maybe your politics or maybe whatever it is. So, so I don't know.
Speaking of Feige here, it sounds like he had the chance to step in and did not.
Yeah.
So interesting. Feigster. Not.
Yeah.
And he's been he's been known as the guy who steps up for his people.
Yeah.
So I
think
that
may tell you something.
Yeah,
that tells you a lot, because in that case, maybe he is stepping up for his people. By not stepping in, he's stepping up for everybody else and saying, you know what, this again, a person who allegedly has a reputation for maybe being an abusive person. But again, allegations, unsubstantiated rumors, all that stuff. So I don't know. Can't say much definitively, if you will. So
yeah. Well, at
good
least
news,
we can.
though.
Yeah, at least we have some good news, right? First up on this, this is all MCU. I should have named it MCU: The Good, Bad, and Ugly, but
right.
the good. Liv Tyler is now confirmed to reprise her role in Captain America: New World Order, and Harrison. Sorry, I was trying to remember. Harrison Ford is replacing William Hurt, who played Liv Tyler's father in The Incredible Hulk. Liv Tyler is one of the last big characters from that movie to make their return to the MCU. Of course, not Edward Norton, as he was. As he had a face change into a different one, but we're seeing Emil Blonsky and Tim Blake Nelson's character, who we haven't seen yet, but he's going to be the leader in this movie. Tim Blake Nelson is it the other Tim
Roth?
Tim Roth. Thank you. I was like, is it Tim? Tim Roth is the Abomination. He showed up in She-Hulk. So characters from that movie are making their return to the MCU.
And he was in Shang-Chi, right?
Yeah, he had like a 5-second cameo in that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool cameo, but still cameo. So anyway, Liv Tyler, you think she's going to whisper all of her lines in this one?
I can only hope so. I have not seen Liv in much of anything in a long time, so I don't really have any. I adore the girl, I really do, or I should say, woman at this point. So, loved her in. I don't have any memory of her in the Incredible Hulk movie, but I also don't really have much memory of the Incredible Hulk movie as it is. So,
there's a couple of scenes that I
remember, so
other than that,
my most memorable stuff with her is going to be Armageddon, and then I'll have to say, what's the other one? That Thing You Do. Loved her in That Thing You Do with. Did you ever see that movie?
I love that movie. Yeah, one
of my favorites. Yeah. It's such an underrated movie. Like, totally snuck into the theaters and then was out of the theaters very quickly. But man, what a terrific Tom Hanks. Terrific
Steve
movie.
Zahn.
And then Steve Zahn's in it. Yeah. And then I think the other one that I loved her in was we said Armageddon, and then the third one was Empire Records. Loved her in Empire Records. Yeah, she's in love with a guy named Rex Manning.
Yeah,
Which
Rex Manning. I'm really glad you
Rex
just,
Manning days coming
because
up
I was
here.
thinking about Ethan Hawke earlier in Reality Bites, Empire
Yeah.
Records. Those are all great '90s kind of
Great 90s
grungy movies.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Rex Manning Day is coming up here pretty
Oh yeah,
soon.
isn't
So
it?
it's April
April.
8th.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like right around my birthday.
Yeah.
Because you get more excited for Rex Manning Day than my birthday, and it just hurts my feelings.
Rex Manning Day.
But oh, well, and she played like a perfect elf, Arwen in
Geez. Yeah.
in
In
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. You're right.
Because in the first Lord of the Rings in Fellowship, she didn't have any action, but she had
Brought
she brought
brought
Frodo to Rivendell and had to outrun the Nazgul, and she looked like she could have handled herself well.
She called on the waters, and they came.
Yeah.
She called on the waters and had them, and they came running down like a horses.
Yeah.
Remember, she called to get rid of the Nazgul. She called those horses in the water, and man, that was one of the coolest special effects I think I'd ever seen at the time. It was so
I recently found out what happened there.
Oh, okay.
So, quick Lord of the Rings geek out. I've really been entrenched in Lord of the Rings the last 6 months or so, and learning the lore. I've still learned about 4% of it. But Elrond, Agent Smith, he has a ring of power that protects where he lives and protects Rivendell. And so she called on the power of the ring, and the ring is what created those horses in the water.
Oh, okay.
That's so cool.
Very cool, yeah.
The other piece of good news from the MCU is we may have gotten a crazy out of the clear blue accidental leak about Secret Invasion, this Kree Skrull War show coming up, where it's Samuel Jackson's centered show, I guess you can say.
Him and Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. Completely forgot about this show because I thought Loki was next, and it sounds like this show is actually going to be next. That this show could be debuting as early as May. I just lost
June 21st.
June 21st. I was going to say May 21st. Yep. June 21st.
Yep.
That's that means there's probably one other MCU project in between them, between now and then. But
I think they're hoping for 3 this year, right? They're
Loki, and Owen Wilson just recently said that that's probably going to premiere like late summer, maybe September timeframe. So that would line up kind of with a timeline. What if season 2 being later this year?
Yeah.
So what's gonna? Gosh, and then X-Men 97 is supposed to premiere too in August.
Yeah. I think the plan was to have at least 3 live actions though, or 3.
Oh, it was Agatha Coven projects. Of Chaos, but that recently got pushed.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll get Secret Invasion and then Loki and then
I think
I guess
I know there was 5 shows, but I think 2 of them were animated in What If and X-Men.
Yeah.
So either way, if this ends up being true, if this is true, this Secret Invasion premiere date in June.
Yeah.
We've gotten one trailer from it. I mean, they haven't marketed it at all, if that's it. So maybe this should have been put in the bad section because that doesn't scream, like good things to me. What do you think?
We're still a ways off. I mean, this is 3 months down the road. So I think, if anything, I think we've got Guardians of the Galaxy next. I think that's the one they'll put on the full blast for all that. So I imagine that's probably what you're kind of keeping your powder dry for, so you'll get a full media blitz of Guardians of the Galaxy starting here pretty soon, and then they should put on full blast for Disney Plus the Secret Invasion stuff. Plus, do we have something coming up? announcement wise? Is there a when's the D23 stuff? Is that in the fall?
That's in the fall, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I was trying to think.
Sometime usually around Labor Day weekend-ish.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it really says much. At least I don't have a bad feeling about this one.
Okay.
I really don't.
Good Star Wars
think yeah, thank you. I really don't. I think Samuel Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, I think Don Cheadle's supposed to be in this as well, maybe, but we'll see. I don't know. Not as like a full role, but I thought I saw his name. And so Colby Smulders supposed to be in there too. So I'm hoping we'll see some good MCU faces in this one. And frankly, I think this one looks like a fun. I really loved the Talos character in the Spider-Man. The Spider-Man No Way Home.
Or
Far From Home. Far From Home. Really, yeah, I really loved Talos in that one. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing where this goes and to see some Nick Fury action, because we really haven't seen much from him. He's just kind of this mysterious guy pulling strings, but you never really see him too much in action. So I'd like to see. I
went back and watched the trailer that was released around the Super Bowl, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally remember watching this and being like, okay, this looks a lot better than I expected.
Yeah.
There's like a ticking clock noise throughout it that builds some anxiety that I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of show I like. Show that like gets my blood pressure going. So I'm excited. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Moving on in the rundown, kind of almost a good segue here. This category is called long run times. And so first up on this category,
she said.
First one up is a movie you just mentioned, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Volume 3.
Going to clock in at 2 hours and 29 minutes, which ties it with Infinity War to give you an idea of length of a movie.
Big one.
I think that this movie is very, 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 very important for a lot of reasons. Mainly if it's good, great. That I think that doesn't necessarily save the comic book movie world going on right now, but if it was bad, it would prove that there is some superhero fatigue. MCU's lost it, can't even get a good Guardians of the Galaxy movie going. So it's a very important movie. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. I don't really disagree on any of those points.
Hell yeah.
I think
this is where we drink.
This is the point on Sprockets where we dance. I don't. This movie, to me, I think when we had our preview earlier in the year, I think I had Guardians of the Galaxy up there as one of my must watch. I love this cast. You talk about family all the time with the Fast and the Furious movies and stuff like that. But this Guardians of the Galaxy crew really is their own family. And I think this is going to be pretty painful because we've already lost one character in a sort of way, and then they kind of revived her in another way. So in a different way, but I don't think we're going to see. I think they've made it pretty clear that not everybody's going to make it through this particular.
A lot of people have made it very clear.
Yes, that they're not making it through this intact, if you will, as far as that stuff is concerned. So clearly the stakes are high, and frankly, good
point.
That's kind of what you need, like with the superhero stuff. There's really no threat to any of these guys ever actually dying. And Infinity War and Endgame really kind of changed that. They were all of a sudden, and I think that's probably what made the stakes so much higher and so much more entertaining for everybody was, hey, not everybody's going to make it through this, and not like by a little bit.
Right.
Like a lot of these guys are not going to make it through this. By the end of these 2 movies, there's going to be less Avengers than there was before, and so with the Guardians of the Galaxy, also, people are invested in this crew, they're invested in this family, and knowing that not everybody's going to get through is going to be painful. It's going to be tough to watch. So, but I'm all in on James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
my brother.
There's no reason
My brother
not to
just my brother just finished watching the second one. He's trying to get through the MCU stuff. And he called me. He called me after he watched the first one. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just watched Guardians of the Galaxy. It was great, And then he calls me. He's got his job takes him overseas quite a bit, so he's got some time on his hands when he's flying back home and on his way out there and stuff. And so as soon as he landed, he called me. He's like, "Hey, I just finished watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2." He says, "I think it was even better than the first." And I was like, "Well, hold on a second." I was like, "Hold on." But yeah, you're right. It's really, really good. Both these movies are really, really terrific. So this third one, I'm really looking forward to as well. This is definitely going to be a midnight, Thursday night, midnight show for me. Going to
or
see
the
that.
10 o'clock now, whatever they call it.
Yeah, the 10 o'clock show. Yeah, since they moved them up. I mean, heck, you can do a 7 p.m.
I think you could. Yeah, I think it's
Thursday night
7 p.m.
show
early. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm very excited. Every time I've watched the trailer, you can feel the pain that's coming.
Yeah,
and there's a scene of Quill. Just you can tell he's in pain in that. And it breaks my heart see.
Yeah, that's what I say. It breaks mine too. You look at it and you're like, holy smokes, Chris Pratt is really acting. Like he's really acting in that scene, and I'm like, dang.
I mean,
it's great.
He's one of my top 5 for a reason, so I give him that.
He's so good. He's so good. We were talking about Jackson found out the other day that Chris Pratt. Dad, did you know that Chris Pratt's doing the voice for Mario in the Super Mario Brothers movie? And I was like, yeah, buddy, I did. That's great. I love Chris Pratt. And I'm like, I do too, dude. I do too.
Much like Dungeons and Dragons, everything I see from the Super Mario Brothers is gold. Absolute gold. I cannot wait for that movie.
We are really like, I know that maybe Quantumania didn't do quite as well as in the theaters as some folks have hoped it would be, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was better than anything that I saw in Phase 4. Like I didn't see. I thought it was way better than any of that.
Well, you didn't see Shang-Chi, right?
I did not. I still need to see that one.
Shang-Chi and Quantumania are in par.
Yeah.
But there's always no way home.
Yeah.
Which
saved. But that's true. But that kicked off. Did that kick off Phase 4 or
maybe for the movies? Middle? No, because Black Widow technically kicked off Phase 4. Like that movie counts for anything.
Yeah, the straight to Disney Plus Black Widow movie. Yeah. All right. No, that's fine. So I don't know. I
sorry, Black Widow nerds out there.
Yeah, if you're Black Widow fans and stuff.
How about the next one? I know you're excited about this one. Next one in this one is the Oppenheimer runtime has been revealed to be nearly 3 hours, which will be Nolan's longest film ever. It's the record for his movies. The previous being one of your favorite movies, Interstellar.
Yes.
Hold on, let me finish this and I'll answer that question.
Yeah.
So Interstellar was 2 hours and 49 minutes. The exact time hasn't been said if it's under or over 3 hours. Two-parter question for you, Eric.
Yeah.
Two-parter here. One part is that too long for a movie you already know what happens? And number 2, is Interstellar your favorite Nolan film?
Ooh.
Or you can answer that one first.
Golly day, man, that's a tough one. Because there are some phenomenal Christopher Nolan movies, but
I know
I have an opportunity to do.
Batman.
I have an opportunity to do a Galaxy Quest quote in there where you're saying it's a special 2-part episode at the very beginning. Sam Rockwell says, "You're the first ones to see."
You got to move over a little bit. To
the first, okay,
there you go.
Right there.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. The other way.
Special.
Right, there you go. Right there.
2-part episode as it aired in 1983. Like where he does that 2 episodes. Okay.
As it aired.
Love Galaxy Quest. Any chance I can? Any chance I can?
I love that I've seen that movie now, and I know
quote.
There's so many like subliminal Galaxy Quest quotes that are in my head from you over the years that now make total sense.
So great.
Every time you've ever said the plucky sidekick,
plucky comic relief,
plucky comic relief. I have always been like, that is such a weird term to use.
Are you saying we're doing episode 121? Yeah, I think so. Why? Because I died in episode.
Let's get out of here before they kill Guy.
I kill Guy. I think that's Sigourney Weaver.
We
got to get out of here before one of these things kills Guy.
The way she delivers that line is so funny.
Oh, she's so
like she legitimate. It's like she legitimately is.
Yeah, she's really afraid that Guy's gonna get killed. Like none of the rest of them are gonna get killed, but Guy's not gonna make it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what, man? I Interstellar is
better than Inception.
I will tell you, it's tough. It is a tough one. I love Interstellar. I really, really do. I love the music. I love the cinematography. I love the subject. It probably is up there. But we're talking The Dark Knight.
I know.
Batman Begins. Dark Knight. Memento.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. And I would say getting left behind, and terribly so, is like The Prestige.
Yeah.
Which is just
I love The Prestige.
Terrific movie. Like, it's terrific. Inception is terrific. Tenet was amazing. And that's another one that I've had to watch a couple of times to make sure that I catch everything in that movie. And and it's been tough. But I my understanding, getting back to the subject matter, my understanding is the reason why Oppenheimer is for 3 hours is that it is going to cover 4.5 decades of time in Oppenheimer's life, or over the course of his existence. So it just, and we've had this discussion before, where probably more offline than we've had this online discussion. But when you watch a movie like that, and as we're talking about editing earlier, there's a reason why every scene is in a movie, and it's intentionally in there. And it's and if it was something that you could cut out of the movie, they would have done it. So if it's in there, it's important. And so if Christopher Nolan is watching this and going, "Hey, I need this movie to be 3 hours because I need to tell this story," and
takes this long to tell it.
Takes this long to tell it. And if anybody comes back to you and says, "Well, nobody will sit for a 3-hour movie," I'm like, just show them Titanic. Be like, you know what? It's almost a 3-hour movie, and it's one of the number one movies of all time. So don't tell me that people aren't going to go watch a 3-hour movie or sit through a 3-hour movie and not go see it 2, 3, 4 times. And I'm not saying that Oppenheimer is going to be one of those movies that people are going to go see 2 and 3, 4 times, but they'll go see. Yeah. They'll go see a 3-hour movie.
If it's good, they will. It's the whole thing. Like, if it's good, people will watch it.
Well, and that's what,
I mean, Top Gun was 2.5 hours.
We just got done talking about the list of, like, Memento, Insomnia, which actually Insomnia is a pretty good movie as well.
I need to watch that movie again, because I know I've watched it one time and it felt like the longest movie. I feel like I'm still watching
Robin Williams. That's the one with Robin Williams
and Al Pacino.
And Al Pacino. Yep. So Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins, The Prestige, The Dark Knight, Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Tenet. That's your resume,
I know.
and now you're working on Oppenheimer. It's like, okay, man, this dude's, the guy is a filmmaker. He is
Total
a he
filmmaker.
is he is the filmmaker. For me, he's the filmmaker of this time, and the other stuff that he has his hands in is all pretty great stuff too, because he helps out with his brother's stuff on like Westworld
Yeah.
and
Jonathan Nolan is his brother.
Jonathan Nolan. Yep, and then and his brothers helped out with him and The Dark Knight. Jonathan Nolan's one of the writers of The Dark Knight. And then what's the anyhow? There's just it's just he's a great storyteller, and I know that when I sit down at one of his movies, that they've put so much care and so much effort into telling a terrific story that even if maybe it doesn't land, I know it's going to be terrific. I know it's going to be light years better than whatever sequel, Fast and the Furious 12 or whatever, could possibly be. Like, this is a filmmaker's film,
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm most excited about. So, and to be honest, the story of Oppenheimer, it's not like it hasn't been kind of told before, but I don't think anything to the depth of how this is. I mean, we're talking about,
right,
especially with the
situation
situation in Ukraine and the Russians, the situation currently with our political situation with the Russians. I think it's important that people understand the power, and because there's a lot of people recklessly throwing around the fact that, maybe we'll just use some tactical nuclear weapons here or there, to try and stop, these people from doing that, or the Russians will just use tactical nuclear weapons to keep us from doing this. It's like, hey, Oppenheimer might be coming along to remind us how powerful these weapons that you're just kind of casually throwing around really are. Like they literally, we used two of them, we wiped a couple cities off the map and killed tens of thousands of people in a matter of microseconds.
Right.
So maybe it's a movie that we need to see, that people need to see to remind themselves of how horrific these things really are.
First time I got really excited for this movie, because of course I'm going to go see it. I wanted to go see it, but I haven't been excited to go see it.
Yeah.
Until I went to Quantumania and watched the trailer and on the big screen with the big sound. And man, this movie's going to rock our worlds, I believe.
Yeah. Well, that here's the thing. That the cinematography is going to be on. That the music is going to be on. That the acting, the cast in this one, I mean, Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy,
RDJ.
You've got RDJ, Florence Pugh is in it, Matt Damon, Rami Malek. Yeah. I mean, just this cast is going to be bonkers. So you're going to get terrific. Yeah. You're going to get terrific performances out of all these people. And you're going to get great writing and great storytelling. So this one's set up for success. It really is. So I hope as a matter of fact, I think it comes out later this summer.
Comes out in July,
right after,
same day as Barbie.
Okay.
So that's
yeah.
That is, I think it's July 23rd.
Yeah, so it's a couple weeks after Mission Impossible drops, right? Because Mission Impossible drops that first week of July, right? Something like that, July 2nd, I think, or Dead Reckoning.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Yeah, July 14th. Okay, so it comes out July 14th is when that one's supposed to come out. So we'll see. It's gonna have a lot of competition there with the Mission Impossible stuff, but I don't know that those audiences necessarily overlap too much, but maybe they do.
Well, it would be interesting.
We got a great summer. We have a great summer of
this summer's
movies coming out.
Well,
we're
June
supposed to
is going to be great too.
Yeah, I told my dad, I said, I'm coming out this summer to see you sometime in July. and I want to take you to see Dead Reckoning, and so I'm hopefully. I think we're going to try and time it where we go see Dead Reckoning and then also probably Oppenheimer at the same time if we can swing it. I'd like to get both those movies in on a weekend and stuff, so it should be pretty fun.
I thought I remember seeing something about Dead Reckoning 2 bringing back someone from the original cast, but I can't find it now.
We've already got Kittredge.
Kittredge.
The kids were asking me the other day. They were like, "Hey, can we watch the first Mission Impossible movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can watch it, you know." And then I said, but it's not as much fun as some of the later entries in the thing. I'm like, we could really just kind of skip to like the fourth one and just kind of start there if we really wanted. You could really start with the first one and then skip to the fourth one.
The third one is great. Third one is when JJ took over, and it was with Philip Seymour Hoffman, who may have been the best villain yet in the series.
You're right. Yeah. The second one's the one where he's got the terrible hair and
he's like
rock climbing
and and he
throws the sunglasses. That was terrible.
It's that time frame like 2000, 2001 where they were doing some weird stuff in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we got a big summer. I cannot wait for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to kick it off, and then this one and Barbie kind of are the two last giant ones. There's some stuff coming up in August. August. Indy's in June.
Yep.
Yeah.
Comes in June.
But the end of August here with Barbie and Oppenheimer as the bookend with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Is Oppenheimer in August now? I thought it was in July.
Coming up, there's not anything bigger than those two franchises that's coming in August.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My brain was like 3 different.
No, you're good.
So let's get to the trailer train. First up on the trailer train, Florida Man. It's a Netflix movie. I'll let you say your I'll let you say your thoughts first because you had the
Sure. I watched it, and the first thought was like, have you ever talked yourself out of something, or like you got like the job, like you're in the interview and you've got the job, like you've nailed this interview, and then you talk yourself out of a job, you know, or you talk. That's what this show did. The further I got into this trailer, the more this movie talked me out of watching it. You know, it's like the more I saw, I was like, nah, I'm good. I think I'll pass on that one. That's just not really for me. So, it says when an ex-cop returns to his home state of Florida to find a mobster's runaway girlfriend, what should have been a quick gig turns into a wild odyssey. And honestly, the first half, I'm like, I'm down for this. Like I said, I was strong. Yeah.
And then it delves into just crazy. It's definitely going to be out there. You know, there's an audience for this. And Edgar Ramirez is one of those actors in Hollywood right now that it's hard for him to miss. He's on it. It's got Clark Gregg, who you would know as Agent Phil Coulson in the MCU. Maybe has the best line.
He has the best line in the whole trailer, for sure. Yeah.
Is it hard to get guns in Florida? The whole state is shaped like a gun.
It is shaped like a gun.
And there's
one of my
this main lady, pretty easy to look at.
Abby Lee, she's not ugly.
No idea who that is.
Well, and Anthony LaPaglia, who is,
where do I know him from?
So he's been around a long time. My favorite role from him, though, is he played opposite of Mike Myers in So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yes.
He's like, you look like an undercover agent. You look like an undercover cop trying to look hip. And he's like, what are you talking about? I am an undercover cop trying to look hip.
And he's on Empire Records.
He's on Empire Records.
He's is he the owner of Empire Records?
He is, yeah. He's the manager of it.
Or the manager, yeah. He's like the boss, yeah.
he had a really
That's
terrific
funny.
show that he was on for a long time. That was on. I want to say it ran for a
Without
few
a
seasons.
Trace.
Yeah, Without a
7 years,
Trace in it. Yeah,
160 episodes.
yeah, it was
It's
on for a long
literally in front of
time.
my face. That's why
Okay,
I
well,
know that
yeah,
off the top
lucky.
of my head.
That was actually a terrific show for a really long time. That was a really good
Yeah.
show. I watched a couple. I remember I watched, I think, like at least the first 3 or 4 seasons of that. I really liked it.
Yeah.
So it's good folks in it.
There's a small time actor in there. His name is Paul Schneider. You when I say you, this is a general term, but it's pretty much for anybody who's seen one of the best Christmas movies out there, The Family Stone. Have you ever seen the Christmas movie, The Family Stone?
It's one of my wife's favorites and one of my least favorite movies of all time. So.
Oh man. Oh, he plays what's his name? He plays there it is.
See the ambulance
Stevenson.
driver?
Yeah, Brad Stevenson.
The ambulance guy.
Brad Stevenson? Brad, what are you doing here, Brad? Okay, so that's a no for Eric. Let us know if that's something you want to watch, Florida Man. The next one is a trailer called Quasi. This comes from the Broken Lizard team. And I'm going to let you go first again because I can tell you're excited about this and I have a very different reaction to this.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Like but I find everything that those guys do just absolutely hilarious. I've loved both the Super Troopers movies. I liked both of them. They have a show on. A couple of the dudes have a show on FX called Tacoma FD, the Tacoma Fire Department show. Really funny.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the cast from the Tacoma FD is in is in this one, and so which just makes me laugh. And the guy from Loki is in it also. He was in the Tacoma Fire Department, but he's one of the guys from Loki. But anyhow, I just thought it's hilarious. Again, it's not everyone's type of humor and it's not everyone's cup of tea, but this looks super low budget, which I like, and just looks hilarious. It really does. And it's based on this guy Quasimodo, who's got the hunchback thing, and then he's granted like a wish, I think, or something like that. He gets selected to ask the Pope for one thing, and so all kinds of hijinks. Yeah, it's just asking for a new back. Yeah. So anyhow, I
didn't laugh. Let me start off with I love these guys.
Yeah,
love them. I didn't laugh one time in this trailer. I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
it did not. It didn't
Nothing
get me.
landed, huh?
Nothing
landed.
Yeah. I just laughed at the line that is in the trailer about he's going to ask me for a new back and I can't give it to him. But I'm more laughing at just the absurdity.
Of that. Yeah. Yep.
So maybe is it a TV show or is it a movie?
I think it's a movie, is what it
on Hulu
looked like to me. So,
like a Hulu movie.
Hulu movie, yeah. Yep. They did. I don't know if you saw this low budget movie they did called Prey. That was a fairly decent.
You mean Hulu, not Broken Lizard? Sorry, I was like Broken Lizard didn't Prey.
Yeah, no. Hulu's done some interesting stuff. They did that Palm Springs. I think it's called Palm Springs with Andy Samberg. It was really funny really
so good.
A lot more dramatic than I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it was going to be a little bit more just pure comedy, and it was a nice balance. So Hulu's done some pretty good movie stuff.
Yeah.
They don't seem to pump out a ton of content, but when they do, it seems to do pretty well. So
yeah.
And this one, like, I'm not putting it in the same caliber as Mel Brooks by any shape or form or the imagination. But when I go see a Mel Brooks movie or a Jim Abrams, Naked Gun type, that's the mindset I'm in. I'm just going to shut down all like higher motor function, like the
Right.
thinking in my brain, and just watch these guys just be idiots,
I feel the same way. I want to be that way for this movie. I hope that it is. I hope maybe it was an unfunny day for me. Who knows?
Well, and frankly, we've talked about this before, but most of the time the creators of the movies don't do the trailer.
Yeah.
The trailers are put together by another by third party.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
by the way, I think that'd be the coolest job to edit TV trailers. Holy cow!
Right.
I just want to be the guy who picks music, or at least be friends with the guy who picks music for trailers.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because like I've tried to explain this to my kids because they both have iPads and they have like iMovie on there, and iMovie makes it really easy to make trailers. They make like little movies and all this stuff, but they have like this trailer function. And so my kids are like, they make trailers for movies all the time, like just them and their friends and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, so that's not how this works. Like you make the movie and then you take parts from the movie and you make a trailer out of it. You don't make a trailer first.
Respect
and then,
the trailers.
Yeah, right.
They hold a special place in our hearts.
Yeah. So,
honestly.
But you know what? The trailers are just a little mini movie that they put together. And it's been a lot of fun. It's really cool.
Well, Quasi takes place in medieval times. And so last on the trailer train is the last bit I hope to see from this movie till I actually see it, because I think that this is now, I don't know, with John Wick out as well, it's hard, maybe 1A, 1B for me, the most anticipated movie that I want to see in theaters right now. Dungeons and Dragons released a couple things in the last week. They released a 60-second critics TV spot where just filled with great feedback from critics about it. My favorite one was, this is the most Chris Pine. Yeah, Pine. He's Pine. Well, he could be Chris Pine too.
Chris Prime.
Chris Prime, the most Chris Pine movie that ever Chris Pine before, or something like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everything I see from this movie gets me excited, and it could be maybe even if it showed all the funny parts in the trailer, I still think it's gonna make me laugh
a lot.
How excited are you for this movie?
So I caught a YouTube. They had like this YouTube exclusive deal. I think it was after maybe the movie premiered, in like Hollywood or whatever. They had this after party.
Oh yeah, that was the
thing that they did.
Released.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't know, it's like 9 minutes, like 8 or 9 minutes.
8 minutes, 13 seconds.
Yeah, just ballpark it for me. But they showed some interviews with the cast and stuff like that a little bit, and then and which was really, really funny. And then they showed an extended, I think, couple minute clip of a scene that I had not seen up to that point. I hadn't seen much from it, and as soon as I got done watching it, I texted the group chat and I dropped it in there, and I was like, the more I see of this movie, the more excited I am for this movie. Like we said with the Florida Man, the more I saw that, the more I was like, I'm not going to see this at all, But the D&D is not, and D&D it just comes with some baggage, sure. We all know, we're all Stranger Things fans, so we see the D&D stuff in that, and the Dungeons and Dragons stuff in that. It comes with a bit of a stereotype, and I frankly, I think there was an older Dungeons and Dragons movie that was not very good or whatever, and so this one has a tough road to hoe, and because you have a kind of a difficult, the creators of this movie are actually in a really difficult spot, because they will have fans who play D&D, and so they're really going to be looking at this, and they're going to be looking for nods and true to the game stuff. But then you have all these normies like myself who never played D&D or whatever, right. and so am I going to be intimidated by this because there's like a ton of inside knowledge, and and from some of the reviews that I've read, that's not the case at all. Like apparently what a lot of people have seen is like, hey, this has a little bit of something for everybody, and you can sit down and be a normie and watch it, and you'll love it. But then if you're a D&D person, there's plenty of stuff in there, Easter eggs and more just like set pieces and things like that you'll really really love, because you'll know exactly what that is. Now, it's funny because I know you put the critics TV spot on here as something we should talk about, and I have an allergy or a gag reflex whenever I see these TV spots that like have critics on there telling me this is the greatest movie. I'm like, because usually that's the nail in the coffin for me on a movie. After the first week, if the movie's not doing well, that's when they roll out these critics TV spot stuff where they're like, every critic loves this movie and you should go see it too. And I'm like, that's usually an indicator to me, like there's a flashing red, light that this movie sucks and nobody's going to see it. So that's why they're rolling out the critic stuff. So I like, anytime I see a movie where they start pumping out the things like, the 2 thumbs up from, Ebert and Siskel and blah, 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 or whatever, I don't even know if those guys are still alive, but yeah. But anyhow, like usually to me is a bright red flashing light that there's something going on, but I don't think that's the case with this one. I think if anything, going up against John Wick 4 is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them, but I think it's as a back-to-back movie for me this week. I think John Wick 4 will be on my viewing list probably this week, maybe next, and D&D will be right behind it. So I told you earlier, I said, because I go see these movies late at night, after the family's gone to bed. I said, I think my wife's going to think I've got a girlfriend if I go to movies 2 weeks in a row.
I swear I'm going by myself.
I swear I'm going to the movies by myself.
Well, good luck on that.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think? Because you saw the same spots I did, right?
Okay, so I don't have the same perspective on the critic TV spot because I see it from both sides, but the after party thing that you sent us was the most enjoyable thing I have watched all day today. The cast has a rapport with each other that is impressive, and you can tell it's come through on screen. Because in the after party, they all got together. There was like sections of it or categories,
right?
And one of them, it's just like, would you rather have brains or brawn? And they go through that. So that's what it was like. But it was just, it's great to see them interact.
And I'll actually drop a link to that trailer in the show description so you guys can watch that clip. If you're on the fence about whether or not you're going to watch that movie, it's worth the 8 minutes and 13 seconds to watch that.
Yeah.
And I think it'll probably sway you one way or the other. It'll probably sway you. But
if it doesn't sway you to watch it, what do you like? Because
right, right.
It's got it makes me like Michelle Rodriguez,
which is a tough. I feel the exact same way. Yeah. That is a tough task.
Chris Prim is definitely top tier. Like if he's in it, I'm probably going to be watching it. So
yeah.
I'm really impressed by Justice Smith though. He has great comedic timing in this.
Really good.
And
really good.
Ray J, I think is how you pronounce his name. Ray J, Jean Pierre, who has gotten big from Bridgerton, and he was just in The Gray Man. Excited to see what kind of action chops he has.
Yeah,
he's charismatic as hell. So excited to see that. And then my main man, Hugh Grant. That's scene where he's like, I can't watch them kill you. And he's like, okay, good. He's like, I'm just gonna leave.
I'm just gonna leave. Yeah. Which I told you earlier, but I'll say it on air too. We recently watched that Operation Fortune.
Oh yeah.
And with him and Aubrey Plaza and Josh Hartnett. Oh my gosh, It's Guy
Carrie
Ritchie.
Elwes.
So
I can't,
Carrie
I
Elwes
can't
is
wait to
the whole
watch this.
cast is really, really terrific. So it's a fun movie. For
Can't
sure.
wait to watch it. I think I've got an eyelash in my eye. It really itches. Anyway, that's it for the trailer train and rundown. Small rundown, but
we managed to stretch it out.
We managed to stretch it out. NRDbox time. We have a question from Mike Hodgkinson, who he writes in: if you could take over any studio right now, what studio would it be, and what would your first priority be? So you're putting yourself in some big shoes here throughout the show, Eric.
Yeah. So I didn't really pick a overall studio. I kind of wanted to stay, maybe wouldn't say small because these are not small properties at all, but
Sure.
Lucasfilm is where I would kind of focus my stuff, because you've got really two franchises that we're just struggling with right now. I wouldn't say struggling, but Star Wars for sure.
Yep.
Star Wars is in a bad place right now. It really, really is. With the exception of Andor, everything that they've done has just not been great. So
a little bit of a side on that. I mean, Mandalorian has been their saving grace.
Yeah.
Struggling this season. I think that's what Eric is trying to say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Season 1 and season 2 were really, really good, but yeah, season 3 has not been what we would expect.
They made some weird decisions with it so far.
They really did. They really did. And so that being said, I would want to probably take over Lucasfilm. The second property that I would be interested to kind of do is the Indiana Jones. I would not go in the direction, whatever direction they're going to with this new movie. I would not go in that direction. I think
cancel the TV show, or the follow up, or the spinoff that was coming out of this.
Yeah.
Canceled it.
I honestly think that I wouldn't go back to the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but I probably would go back to the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Like, that's where I would go with this, with the stuff is I would recast. I would go younger, and I don't think anybody would have a real problem with it as long as you cast well, somebody that people can see in that role, and even just throwing a name out there. One guy that we just talked about is Chris Pine. Like, I think he'd be a great younger Indiana Jones. Because he's got that great one-liner, timing with stuff, but he's definitely got the action chops to do, whatever he wanted to do. There's plenty of places you could go with it. So Lucasfilm is where I would kind of focus my stuff. Like, I think they've got some good stuff really that they can really, really work with. The Willow stuff was not good. That's another one that they could have done better with. And so that's the studio I would take over, and
that's a good
probably
pick.
Fire just about everybody.
Kathleen Kennedy, first
Kathleen Kennedy. Yep. So
I love that pick, because for the same reason as my pick, like the density of the two, mainly of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But even you could do a lot with Indiana Jones. So
yeah.
Because I always forget about how good the Indiana Jones Chronicles were from the 90s. I mean,
that was a great show.
It was a great show.
Fun
show. Had big following.
Yep.
But I would take over Warner Brothers, because my first priority would be to expand the world of the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
There's been 6 Lord of the Rings movies, 3 of them masterpieces. The other 3, The Hobbits, were The Hobbit, as in plural, movies, not as in plural hobbits, but The Hobbit.
We love them, Jen Tiedemann. We love those movies.
That's like throwing it back to the first couple months of the rundown, right?
First couple episodes, yeah. Evan and Jen love their Hobbit movies.
They're not terrible. I'll put it that way. But
it just could have been a lot better.
As I've entrenched myself into Lord of the Rings lore, into Tolkien's writings, and really digging into this world, my goodness, there is like the The stuff we've seen on screen would be like maybe top 10. Maybe. It would barely squeak into the top 10 cool stuff that's happened in this world.
Yeah.
There is so much to the first, so that happens at the end of the third age. The first age is incredible. It's mainly all about the elves and Morgoth, or Melkor, as he's referred to before Morgoth. I mean, it's just an epic battle after epic battle, and some of the characters in that age of the elves, you've got some of the biggest badasses of all time that would make Aragorn and Legolas look like child's play.
Yeah.
So I would take over Warner Brothers, and I would make it my first priority to have a TV show that starts with the first age, because there's like a lot of material that happens before the first age, as like Eru Iluvatar, he's the big G, god in that world, as he creates Ea and that whole world, and then he has his like angels, which are the Valar, and then the Maya, which are like other lesser angels, and that's what like Sauron and Gandalf are. I mean, there's just so much cool stuff that you can build out where it would feel like Lord of the Rings, but you don't have to use Gandalf for the 9th time, or however many times. So that would be my first priority, because I think that the material that is there, it's gives me chills just thinking about what could be it. And then, the second age there's not much. Tolkien didn't write much about the second age, but that's where the current show that's on Amazon is kind of taking place. But they only own the appendices of Lord of the Rings, so they can't adapt it very well. My priority as new head of Warner Brothers would be adapt this like you're Tolkien. Don't take the liberties. We're gonna pay respect to Tolkien because he built this. I mean, it's just lore nerds. I know, like Bill Poor. He's into the lore of things. There's nothing like Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's amazing. And Star Wars in the same way. There's a lot of gold in there that we haven't even got to. So
yep.
It got me out of breath. All right, that's it. Great question. Let us know in the comments what studio would you take over, and what would be your first priority as the head of that new studio. Yeah, I know people are going to be like, I'm surprised you didn't pick the MCU. I'm not doing a better job than Kevin Feige. I know they've had a rough go, but dude, he's the man still in my mind. Yep, agreed. Okay, Eric, we missed Morgan on this one. He's got a busy life. Happens to the best of us. So, miss you, Morg. Miss you, Meg. Miss you, Brett. Miss you, Jason. Miss you, Bill. Miss you, Bryant. God, I hope I'm not forgetting any of their hosts right now off the top of my head, but I think that's it. Got some great stuff coming out. Yeah. Got some really fun stuff planned for the Presents that's coming out in the next few months. Be patient with us. We're growing. We're getting there. We're advancing ourselves. At least, for sure. At least we still have the rundown. We're gonna have that on a weekly basis. So we'll always be able to come on here, have fun with you, have fun with y'all out there, nerd out with us over here on the rundown. For sure. With that being said, see you all next week on the Nerd Rundown.
See ya. Bye.